Is it wrong to say that benefits are a lifestyle choice? Do give us a call on this one with your thoughts. 0207 862 2222. What do you think about that statement? Chancellor Jeremy Hunt says that there is ample opportunities for people to get ahead in the world of work, and that unemployment benefits are a safety net and shouldn't be a lifestyle choice. But are his comments fair? Do some people use the benefit system as a lifestyle choice? And is the job market quite as buoyant as he suggests? Ava, what do you think about his comments?
Well, I think the Chancellor has actually had ample opportunity to fix the problems in the economy and actually incentivise people to get back into work. Because the problem that you've got with these unemployment figures, right, OK, so there's 900,000 vacancies across the country. That doesn't necessarily mean that there are job vacancies in your area. That also doesn't mean that you are qualified to do that job. Now, in terms of when we talk about people would rather live on universal credit than go to work, I just think it's like total rubbish. I mean, there is no way. I know, I mean, just anecdotally, friends of mine who've had to go on to job seekers or have had to go on to universal credit because they've had a blip, you know, I mean, post-pandemic, it's been very, very difficult for people at my age to get back onto the job ladder because of our age and the way that we were entering the workplace at that time. It's been difficult. Now, those people who've gone onto universal credit, let me tell you, that money doesn't even cover your rent. That money does not afford you a lifestyle, let alone a plentiful lifestyle.
About 360 a month?
Yeah, and if you look at any kind of city rent, we're talking about, about £950 to rent a room in the capital, about 700 in other cities. That's not going to cover it. And then you don't have social housing anymore the way that you did 15 years ago. So it's not like you can just sign on and then you get given a beautiful flat. It doesn't happen anymore.
Carole, what do you think?
Yeah, I think 50-odd% of people in this country are on some kind of benefit. Eva's talking about universal credit. I completely agree with universal credit. If two members in a household are both working and it's not enough to make ends meet, I think that it's fair that they should get help because they are doing their bit for society and for themselves and whatever. But to say that people don't exist who do choose it as a lifestyle choice is not the case.
But it's minimal.
I grew up in an area and I worked in that area for many years where I saw third, fourth generation children didn't work because their parents had not worked and their grandparents hadn't worked. And where is the incentive to work if no one in your family and in your history has ever worked? There is none.
With all due respect, when was that though? Because was that a different time when you could sign on to the dole, when you could also have a job?
I'll tell you when it was.
You would be quite bountiful in what you could reap. It was at a time
when there wasn't 10 million people in the country who are available to work, but who are choosing
No, they're not available.
They are not.
Buy into this language that's coming
out. The language
is
they're actively not looking for a job. We have 2.8 million people signed off sick. But you can't have 10 million people unable to work, Ava. We know that is not the case.
Okay, look, tomorrow morning, imagine, someone goes to the GP and the GP says to them, you've got chronic depression. You should not be going to work until you receive treatment. And then they go, okay, fine. When can I receive treatment?
How many people
Next week?
do you think
No,
have
you
chronic
can't receive
depression?
it for 18 months. That is the state of waiting list in this country.
Do you know there's a difference between a chronic mental health issue and someone who is having difficulty coping with the everyday ups and downs of life?
And I'm sorry to be treated, and at the moment they are having to wait to be treated.
Do you really need to be
6 million
treated
people
for
on
not being
NHS
able?
waiting list. Surely that has had an impact.
Do you really need to be treated because you're having a bit of anxiety because of the ups and downs of everyday life, the stuff that everyone has to deal with? I'm not talking about people with serious mental illnesses. I'm talking about the rest. I'm
talking about the people with serious
mental illnesses. And you're naive if you imagine that everyone who is not working in this country, the 2.8 million people who are signed off sick, all have chronic depression. I just don't buy it.
I'm going to go to the calls now. Emma from London, what's your thoughts about the Chancellor's comment?
It really annoys me. I'm blind and had a stroke and that, but people see me walking around a bit, but might think that I'd be able to work, but I can't, and that we're all getting lumped in with everything else. I think the bigger question is, why are the government allowing people that are able to work full time not be able to have enough money to be able to have the wherewithal to be able to support themselves? They shouldn't be having to claim universal credit in order to pay rent and stuff. They should be able to earn enough money and able to do that themselves. So
it was actually
the
a point
government should be
Emma, I was going to bring up with Carole, and Carole said that if you've got two people living in the same house, both of them working and still having to claim universal credit, your question is, why is that happening? But let's get on to yourself, Emma, because you're personally feeling a little attacked by the Chancellor's comments, and I can understand that. But the Chancellor would probably say...
They're not directed at Emma. They're not directed at people like Emma, the Chancellor.
Yeah, but they are.
No, they're not, Emma.
They are. That's the problem.
They're not
There's a lot of rhetoric at the minute, Carole, where they're trying to take people off of PIP and everything else when they have actually got genuine health problems.
No, Emma, they're not attacking. They're not directed at people who are partially blind.
People to attack.
Emma,
And
you are bang
people like
on.
you that are as bad as the MPs that are trying to attack people that have genuine things.
I'm telling
they
you
should
that,
be trying
I'm
to
telling
help
you what I think,
people
that it's not about
that
you.
are going, that
It's
are
about
in
people
work to
who
not
are
have to be
scamming.
able to claim universal credit and have a living wage in the first place. And actually, if you put as much energy into having a go at them about making people be able to have a living wage to not have to be able to claim.
We have a living wage, Emma. We have a legal. We have a legal.
Putting your energy into it.
We have a legal living wage. We have a decent legal living
at the
wage.
moment it isn't covering it.
And it's very naive to imagine that every job should be paid the same amount of money, which is a lot of money. It doesn't happen. That's not how life
shouldn't
works.
the minimum wage be able to at least cover a roof over your head? And
But I mean,
food on
I
the table?
think a lot
and at the moment it isn't for a lot of people.
Which is why the people get extra benefits. 53% of people in this country are on some kind of benefit. So people are not, this is not a country that is
they're
actually
being stigmatised
denied.
for it.
No, they're not.
They are.
People like Emma are not being
But
stigmatised.
can I just say, Carole?
The scammers are.
But one moment,
and there
Carole.
are scammers. It's naive
I
to
would
think they're
argue
wrong.
that Emma is completely right, because Jeremy Hunt does not make the distinction in his argument. Whenever he's talking about people who are too lazy to go off and work and people who are claiming PIP, he does lump them all together. And then you've got people like Emma who need to be on PIP, and they're sitting at home threatened by having their payments potentially taken away.
No, he's not. He's just saying, what he said last week, which some people might take umbrage at, is that some disabled people might be able to work.
Well, this is what I wanted
Which
to
is
get to
completely
with
true.
Emma. Just Emma, very quickly, because there'll be people watching at home or listening at home that might be visually impaired and they work full time. And so they might be thinking, well, Emma, is there something else that you could do?
I had a stroke and stuff as well. I also suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder. I've got several things wrong with me. And a lot of the things that are wrong with people are not always necessarily visible.
Which makes it very difficult, Emma.
When they're disabled and stuff, and you end up feeling very attacked by it, and it's not right. And somebody like Carole might look at me and think that I could work when I can't.
Well,
And
to
then I
be
would feel
fair,
very
Emma, you've
I've
said
never
that
said
several
that.
times, and Carol's actually defended
I haven't
you.
actually said that
So
at
I don't-
all. I haven't actually said that, not once. I've actually defended you just now.
I can understand why you're upset though, Emma, and thank you very much for your call. Dan from East Sussex, what's your view when you hear Jeremy Hunt say things like this?
I mean, I think the lifestyle isn't something you choose. It's something that's forced onto you. Now, I myself have been unemployed for 10 years. I'm living with the after effects of a brain tumour, and I've been unemployed so long, I'm still on the old style job seekers allowance because I get the severe disability premium, which doesn't exist on universal credit.
Okay.
Now, last year, about this time last year, I had my first job offer in 9 years and lost count of how many job interviews I've had. I had it withdrawn on account of a seizure I'd had 10 months previously, and occupational health got involved. They stipulated a no loan working clause, and because they couldn't 100% guarantee that I'd never be left alone, even for like 20 seconds, they withdrew this job offer.
Dan, that must be
And
very
I said-
frustrating for you. So when you hear Jeremy Hunt make comments like this, you just want to watch out of the TV?
Pretty much.
I mean, when you hear things like that, Carole, it's very unfortunate.
It's heartbreaking. None of us can guarantee we're not going to have a seizure at any point, never mind someone who's had a brain tumour. So it is grossly unfair. But you know what it's about, Dan? It's about companies trying to protect themselves. It's not right. They're terrified they're going to be sued, all that thing. And that's why it happens. And it isn't fair. It just isn't fair. And I'm so sorry.
Especially for somebody that's out
he wants to work.
He wants to work. Countless interviews. My fingers are crossed for you that you can you get another job interview, and it's an absolute winner. All the best. Annette from Gloucestershire, what's your view? Are some people just living off benefits? Is it a lifestyle?
Yes, I do believe that. I am afraid that is my thoughts. I feel very sorry for the gentleman before, Dan.
Of course.
I think that must have been a horrible experience for him.
And Emma that we spoke to earlier. But Annette, do you think it's the majority, or do you think it is the minority of people that are out of work?
I think it's the majority. And we're told every day on the news all this long-term sick, and many, many, many of them are young.
Absolutely, Annette. But there is a waiting list on the NHS of something like 6.7 million people. Do you not think that that probably has some sort of contributing factor to the amount of people out of work?
Yes, it does. But from the experience I've had from within my family and other people, a lot of people just don't want to work.
Within your family? So they're just living off the £360 a month? That's not a huge amount to live off with the current cost of living.
Well, someone in my family isn't on £360 a month. They're on well over £1,000 a month on universal credit. And they do nothing. Absolutely nothing. And they get this every month. And I'm sorry, I believe that our welfare society is out of control, and somebody needs to take control of it. The country can't afford it.
So what needs to be done in it? We just stop paying people if they can't get a job?
Does she work?
No.
Annette, do you work?
Yes, I do. Do you know I'm 75? I have 2 full-time jobs.
Well, okay, but would you also appreciate that being on pension is also being on welfare?
No, it is not.
You've just started. I mean, what way to end it?
Because people like
Carole, I'm going to have to wrap up. I'm so sorry about that. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Huge thank you to Ava and Carole. Huge thank you to all.